Okay, thanks everyone for joining us. This panel is Diverse Minds, Inclusive Spaces, Embracing Neurodiversity Together. But can we have like a quick applause for like the organisers of today? It's been an incredible day, hasn't it? Amazing. So I am very excited and especially honoured to be with our guest panel today. So excited, huge fan. We have Hannah Litt, who is a social justice activist and consultant. We have Tumi Satir, who founded the Black Dyspraxic. We have Alex Manners, neurodiversity and autism speaker, Asperger's champion, presenter and author. And you have myself, I am Tania Gerard, I am the founder of Tania Gerard Digital. Hi. So in this session, we will be exploring neurodiversity and its impacts on creating inclusive environments. We'll discuss various neurotypes, how to support and celebrate neurodiverse individuals, and strategies for building workplaces where everyone can thrive. Hi guys.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Good.
Isn't this exciting?
Very, very exciting.
Very exciting, everyone. Right, so we're going to dip into understanding and valuing neurodiversity in the workplace. So, how can companies create a culture that appreciates the unique perspectives of neurodiverse employees?
Shall I go first?
Yeah.
I think when we're looking at, embracing the neurodiverse individuals, I have to see them first.
I agree.
So I don't think anything can be done until you see them, and looking at it intersectionally as well. So I got diagnosed with ADHD and OCD when I was 37, but in reality, looking at my symptoms, it was always there. And actually the workplace has been one of the horrific places that I've been for understanding that actually my neurodivergence won't show up the same as somebody else's that doesn't look like me.
Yeah.
So I think also going through my diagnosis, I couldn't find anyone that could help me guide me through to say, actually, this is how it shows up. Because, I'm battling my own community as well, because there's no data, there's no education, there's no, so, when I got diagnosed, my mum said, that's not even a real thing. And my dad said, can you do a course to get rid of that? And it's not because they're bad people, there's just a real lack of understanding. Yeah. So even when I step into neurodivergent spaces, I'm still not welcome. So the fact of the matter, I think we need to see it first before we even start to create something. Have a look at who potentially, and actually a lot of people that are from black and brown communities, they don't get a diagnosis. Diagnosis is a privilege. So actually just understanding and seeing people first is really, really important for me.
That's amazing.
Well, I was diagnosed with Asperger's, which is now autism spectrum disorder, when I was 10 years old. And when I was in school, a lot of the teachers had preconceived ideas about what Asperger's and what autism was. And they thought, oh, well, Alex can look you in the eye and Alex can have a conversation with you and Alex sits in the classroom and doesn't make a fuss. So they didn't understand the true effects of how my Asperger's was making me feel and the traits that I had. And I think going into the workplace, I think everyone needs to just have that almost clean mindset to think that actually every single person is an individual. And no matter what neurotype or neurodiversity they may have, treat everyone as an individual. And I would always say, if something needs to be changed to help that individual, allow that thing to be changed, because many of the things that I may need putting in place in the workplace or wherever it is I may be working won't only help me, but it may help someone else as well who maybe doesn't have Asperger's, doesn't have autism. Also, many of the things that people with autism will need putting in place in the workplace will be free to implement, won't take up a lot of time to actually put in place. And I always say that if you're making the environment accessible for people with autism, you're probably making the environment accessible for people without autism. So I would always say that just have that open mindset that actually everyone is an individual and treat them as such.
That's an amazing answer. Thank you, Alex.
I completely agree. I often say that when it comes to neurodiversity, as long as you have a brain, you belong in the conversation, because neurodiversity is just about different minds, and there's no one in the world that has exactly the same mind as someone else, because we're all unique. And so we need to start from there, and then also recognize that everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Everybody is of value. So one thing I often say is, when you do disclose, or when you hear someone is neurodivergent, be it dyspraxic, autistic, has ADHD, rather than starting with what do you find difficult, ask them, so what are you good at? Make it a positive thing, because we now know that people who are neurodivergent are incredible thinkers. They think differently. Some of them are very detailed orientated, because we know about spiky profiles, which means that neurodivergent people are just really good at some things that are a lot better than the general population, and neurotypical people are just have like maybe medium competencies at a lot of different things. So basically, when we talk about competencies and skill profiles, a neurodivergent person would be like this, up, down, but a neurotypical person would just be like across the board. So when it comes to line managers and people in the workplace, it's just about asking the question about, okay, how can I utilize these skill sets, not just for the benefit of the individual, but also for the benefit of my organization as well. But I really agree with Alex in the sense that some of these changes are not expensive and they're not difficult. So for example, in my workplace, when we have a meeting, even if it's virtual or it's in person, I always ask for the meeting to be recorded and transcribed. That doesn't cost much these days. Actually, it's virtually free. You just hit record on Teams. But some people who are neurotypical have actually said, Tumi, I have a listen to that recording because I just forgot X, Y, Z. But why can't we just have a workplace where recording is just standard? It's just what we do. And those type of things are easy to implement, and that's a topic for universal design. So how do we even design our workplace in a place where people who are neurodivergent don't even have to ask, because it's just what we do?
That was so insightful. I absolutely loved that. So what do you feel are the benefits of having a neurodiverse team for the organisation as a whole? What are the benefits that neurodivergence can bring to the team?
I think it's what we've just said. Our minds are different, and I think when I was going through my diagnosis, I remember I was burnt out and I rang my boss and I said, I think I've got ADHD, you know. And what was burning me out was the tasks that were just, you know, admin. It's paralyzing. Like, I hate like life admin, work admin, but I'm really great at other things. I'm like a big thinker. I'm creative. So I think it's, for me, the benefits and the strengths and all of that, it sits in actually an individual. But when I was asked, kind of going on that journey, was like, what do you need? I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I need right now. I just know I've been operating in a world that isn't designed for me, with several different identities, and I don't know. So sometimes it's just bearing with and going, hey, come on, let's explore this together. I've noticed you're really good at this. But even the terminology like ADHD, it's got deficit in there, it's got disorder in there. So you're already battling stigmas. And I know that when I used to go into work, when I used to go into the office, I'd literally have an hour and a half drive, and I'd be like, right, Hannah, fill out your day, keep your mouth shut, don't get in any trouble, because code switching is something that we do to keep us, not because we like doing it, it's to keep ourselves safe. So I'd get into a meeting, someone would say something, that's it, game over. I'd have people that look like me looking at me going, you're so brave, Hannah, like, you're so courageous, you're so brave. And then I'd have leaders looking at me as though with that look like, we're going to talk to you later. So it's really balancing. So, but I've come to a point where I love my brain. It's brilliant. I'm so intuitive. And my favourite line is, I told you so. So it's really looking at the skills. I think the superhuman, the superhero narrative can be really harmful. Because some days just getting out of bed, I feel like a superhero. But it's down to the individual. I think when we put narratives on neurodivergent people, it puts another expectation to, perform in essentially systems and organisations and a world that just isn't designed for us. So I think it's really, really important, because I know people will say, let's hire people with autism because they're really, attention to detail. Don't hire them for that. Hire them because they're great.
Yeah.
Hire them because they're great. Because the minute that person makes a mistake, well, I hired you for this. So I think it's really, really important that we own our own strengths and we are able to navigate, because it will change, because it's an evolving, especially when you've had a late diagnosis.
Yeah.
You're trying to navigate something, and there's no data out there.
No.
So
Just as a personal interest. So obviously with ADHD, we tend to mask and we tend to go in, like, analyze the different types of people that we're in and kind of pretend to, like, be them and, like, mask our own kind of individualism. Did you, because you look fabulous, I will just say that now, like, did you have a past of, like, masking and then you came into your own, or have you always been this amazing?
I have, no, I'm joking.
Full of compliments.
So, yes, I did. And what I didn't realise is not only am I neurodivergent, I've got hidden disabilities. I suffer with autoimmune disorders. I suffer with chronic pain syndromes. And all of that is the outcome of me masking.
Yeah.
Because it came out in the physical symptoms. So it was trauma related. It was so yeah, I'm really good at masking. But now that I've embraced who I am, I can be like, right, I'm done with peopling today. I just need to be shut out. And I didn't know what that was. And because when you have ADHD, you come across as an extrovert. So the minute you're just like, right, I don't want to smile for 2 minutes. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? What's the problem? So there's this real expectation. But I was really good at masking, because Northampton's my hometown. I live like 3 minutes away. But as a child at school, I was the only child of colour in my school as well.
Right.
So you were navigating different. So people might be like, well, this is just maybe how people like you behave. But I was never in trouble. I was funny. Everyone liked me, but they had really, through my education, they had really decided, and they were okay with the fact that you will achieve nothing, but it's okay because you're a nice person. So masking was, I'm not going to say easy, but I didn't know any other way.
But I would say, on the topic of masking, it looks different for different people, in a sense that, and I do classify this as a privilege. I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 4. So I don't know what masking looks like, because I didn't really have to mask. I often say that I knew that I was dyspraxic before I realized I was black. And I say that because I remember growing up in Sunday school, and the kids would be able to do some actions or dance in a certain way, and I wouldn't be able to dance like that. I would never win a dancing competition. I would be the person that would clap out of rhythm. And these are things that, as a black person, stereotypically you're supposed to be good at, and that just wasn't my experience. But because of that understanding, that having that diagnosis too early on in my life, I've never known what it's like to try and be someone else, because my family, my friends always known that, okay, he's dyspraxic. But it did get complicated, because I know some relative was like, well, you've done really well in your GCSEs and your A-levels. How are you dyspraxic? Are you sure you're not playing it on? But newsflash, and I just want to say to everyone, neurodivergence has nothing to do with intelligence.
Can we get a round
Say
of
that
applause
again.
for that, please?
Say that a bit louder.
That deserves a little clap. Amazing.
Well, I always say that people can learn a lot from the ways that people who are neurodivergent, who have got autism, think and view the world. Because, I often come out with things that bamboozle my family, but they're things that other people just won't be able to think of. I'm bad on football, and I remember once telling my granddad, well, if all the football teams in the Premier League finish on exactly the same number of points, he was like, yeah, well, then what would happen? And he said, well, it goes to the goal difference. I said, well, what happens if that is the same? And what happens if every single stat possible is exactly the same for every single team? Like, who would win the league? Who would get relegated? And he just looked at me like, that's impossible. And I'm like, well, it's not impossible. It's extremely unlikely, but it's not impossible. And it's that way of thinking. And I think, people can learn a lot from the ways that, I've got Asperger's, so people can learn a lot from the way that I think. And in the workplace, that could mean that I, carry out a task in a quicker time frame, in a lot more detail. So actually the way I carry out a task may be a more beneficial way for others to carry out that particular task if they were doing the same or the similar task in the future. So yeah, I would always say that try and learn from people who are neurodivergent, because you seriously can learn a lot from them.
I think you can learn. I think you're absolutely right. But I also think we can invite them in as well, because having those brains together creates phenomenal, forward-thinking strategies, voices. So, invite them into the conversation. I used to say in a previous organisation, they would say, look, but I see the leadership team, it's not diverse. Well, you can invite people in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got a whole organisation, invite people into the room. It doesn't just have to be the senior leadership team that make all the decisions. If you all look the same, you all think the same, what are you doing? So invite people into the room, because we exist and we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Because if you think about like an orchestra, the different instruments, the violins, the percussions, the horns, they all come together to make a beautiful symphony. And in the same way in the workplace, the skill sets, the individuals come together to make that harmonic sound that your business wants to do. And then also, so to think about it, that means any good team needs a diversity of talent. We talked about football, Justin. Can you imagine what a football team would be like if there were just 11 strikers on the pitch? That wouldn't be good. So in the same way, why would you want to have a business that everybody has a similar skill set? It just doesn't work like that. And so for example, when you have in a business, you need people that are going to be your idea generators. You need people that are going to see the idea and execute. You also need people that are going to be very detailed orientated. You need people that are going to be very literate to know how to sell and market that thing. But you also need people to think about the numbers. Can you see that I've just named so many skills that are just not one person can have, but then also understand that the world is also diverse. I think roughly like 15 to 20% of the population are neurodivergent. So if you want to tap into that market and sell to that and know what they feel, what their pressure points are as well, it makes more sense for your teams to be divergent, so you know how to even tap into those markets that you probably haven't tapped into before. And how do you do that? You just bring more people into the table. You just bring people in. Allyship is so important. Walking across the room to people that are different to you and say, you know what, I see you, and I'm going to create a space for you to thrive, a space that is psychologically safe, that you don't have to mask. You can just be you, and you are here on merit, and I'm committed to just be there for you so you can excel at your potential.
That was brilliant, thank you. We are going to move forward with creative, inclusive spaces for neurodiverse employees. So what practical steps can organisations take to make workplaces more inclusive for neurodiverse individuals?
Do I just go first every time? Is that we've got a rotation now?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I'll go first this time then. So, again, there are lots of things you can do to make an environment more inclusive, more accessible. Two things that have always worked for me. One is having a quiet space I can go to whenever I need time for myself, whenever I'm feeling stressed. That's really important, but that quiet place needs to be the same quiet space all of the time. So if I suddenly need, in a split second, to go to a quiet place, or I can feel myself becoming stressed, I know exactly where to go. Also, having at least one person I can speak to at any given moment is also incredibly important, because it will stop me then from bottling all of my worries or concerns up until I get home. So that could be like a colleague. It could be maybe I don't feel confident speaking to any of my colleagues, especially if it's a new company I've gone into, but it could be like a family member or a friend who I can reach on the phone. Again, that's really important. And also, I think since COVID, a lot more people have been working from home or online. And for people with autism, I know a lot of people have said how that's been extremely beneficial, because they've been able to work from an environment totally suited to their own needs. They haven't had to worry about interacting with loads of people or being a busy open plan office. But on the flip side, some of my friends who have autism have said how working from home has been really hard, because they needed that daily routine of going in to the office every single day, and they found it really difficult to work from home. So I'd always say, work with that individual to come up not only with the best ways for them to work, but the best environments for them to work in. They might prefer to work from home, they might prefer to work from the office just with one little adaptation, but if they're more productive working, say, from home rather than in the office, and they're actually getting all of the work done, then why would you not let them work from home? It just makes complete sense. But yeah, those are just some of the things that you can do to make a workplace more accessible. But like I've said, many of the things that we will need putting in place will be easy to implement, won't cost anything to put in place. And if you make the environment accessible for people who are neurodiverse, you're probably making the environment accessible for people who aren't neurodiverse as well.
Yeah.
That was brilliant, thanks.
That was awesome. I often say to people that once you've met one dyspraxic, you've done just that. You've met one dyspraxic. In other words, we are all different. So as just been mentioned, I could give you a list of what to do, but what will work for me would be completely different from what would work for Hannah, for example. So the first thing you should do is ask, what do you need? What accommodations do you need that would help you thrive? I think to make our workplace more inclusive, we even have to think about the recruitment. So why is it that in 2024, we still ask people to write a cover letter and a CV? The same way we look at candidates now is we basically haven't changed our recruitment process for the last 40 years. And we need to think about it. Like, why can't I send like a voice note explaining why I'm good for that role? If I'm applying for a job as like a content creator or like a graphics designer, if writing essays is not going to be important for the role, why are you going to judge me on my cover letter? It just doesn't make any sense. And then I also agree with having people that you can speak to, a place that is psychologically safe. So I really do believe with having buddies or line managers that you can talk to, but also paying your staff for the advocacy work. So if someone has like a D&I thing that they're passionate about, that person shouldn't have to carve out time outside of working hours or in lunch breaks and still trying to meet their deadlines and still try to make change in the organizations. No, show that person is of value, show that you're interested in the cause, and put your money where your mouth is and support them. And in addition to that, there's a lot of, not just content online, but there's a lot of like neurodiversity consultants that can come and actually give you that expert advice. And it's something that organizations need to look into, because whatever you put money towards, it shows what you're prioritizing. Access to work is also really important, and I think line managers should be clued up on that. And that's where the government actually gives disabled people of all disabilities help in the workplace and actually gives companies the money towards that. I often say that access to work is not necessarily that accessible because it takes ages to get that support. But the thing is, it's there. I'm a big fan of coaching and actually just getting that one-to-one support for that neurodivergent individual in the workplace. So, yeah.
Hannah?
I'll leave it there.
I think for me, it's everything that's been said, and we can give you a list, but for me, it's a real, it's a mindset change, and it's having like a people-centric approach, but it's also really kind of empathy. Like we don't have enough empathy. Giving people grace, understanding, bearing with them. Like the diagnosis, I know to go if getting a diagnosis is a privilege, but it's a 3 to 5 year waiting list. So what are you going to do in that time to support your employees? And I think for me, it's really having the empathy to understand that some days are really tough. Some days we can't regulate our emotions. Some days, we just can't. Some days I'll sit in front of my laptop and I'll be like, if I look at it long enough, will it do something? It doesn't, by the way, don't try it. So for me, it's really actually understanding that everyone is individual, but also we're not all the same. but not just from a neurodivergent point of view. We're all battling different battles when it comes to our intersectional identities. You know, I won't know what it's like to be anybody here on this panel, and no one will know what it's like to be me. So understanding what they're navigating, again, in their own communities as well. You know, sometimes they're coming into work. When you come into work and you're being questioned, well, I think I'm going to quote, "I don't know if this is your ADHD or I don't know if this is just who you are." That's what I was told by a manager. So when you're navigating that, and then you're navigating a community as well that doesn't really understand it, like you're literally trying to educate people on why you're still going through this process of like, you know, what would I have achieved if I had had the support? Who am I? What am I good at? This is why I really hate doing admin, and I leave it all to her. But also I think one thing, the organisation I was just at previously, I was able to be quite open and say, and really kind of educate on, and just having the real, we were small, and I headed up the function, I had no choice. But it was also people that looked like me, so they understood. I think there was a real piece around trying to implement care and all that good stuff is great. But it got to a point where they were like, right, if Hannah is in hyperfocus, she's in hyperfocus. I think I slept for 4 hours in 6 days. But what they did do was get in touch with my husband, who they also knew, and said, right, we're here. Let us know how she's getting on. Make sure you feed her, because I wouldn't even eat. I was so into the task. It went on for 6 days. But what they had done is prepared, because they knew at some point I was going to crash. So I fell asleep, I think it was 2:30 on a Thursday afternoon. That was it, I was out. But they were ready to pick it up at that point, because they were like, we can't stop her, because she's just going to do it anyway. But what we can do is be there at the end of it to pick the pieces up.
That's amazing.
And if she needs to sleep for 3 days, she can sleep for 3 days. That's fine. So it's really just actually understanding, but it's having empathy. Having empathy for the individual, having the openness to talk to them, because if I went to another organ, would I even tell them? Probably not. Initially,
which is
because
sad.
and the interview process, you know, are you neurodivergent? Yes. Are you disabled? Yes. Okay. I've headed up recruitment teams for the last 13 years. I know the bias exists.
Put it in a box.
And it's not because they don't like that. They're just thinking, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how I don't know if I say the wrong thing. So for me, I think there's a whole piece around actually just empathy, ask questions, give grace. It just comes back to, again, just being a good human.
At the end of the day, we are all humans as well. Robots haven't taken over yet, guys. Like, we need to look after each other and care for each other and just talk.
And I think there is also, creating that environment allows people who are neurodivergent or from marginalised identities to say what they want. So I had a colleague, and they were like, right, we've got some training, it's on a video, and I went, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch the video. I'll tell you can send it to me. I'm not going to do the training. Can you just talk me through it? Can we do it together? And it was done in half an hour. We were good to go. So again, it's just really creating environments for people to speak, and they know you're going to have empathy. They know that actually if that does, and my team used to say to me that it was actually the tech team. So they'd say, so Hannah, do we need to create 50 different processes for the same? If you need to, that's what you need to do. I said, absolutely, if it's 100, it's 100. That's what we need to do, because not everyone is the same. But if you want to create an environment where people feel that they can belong, if they choose to do so, they can bring in all themselves to work, a little bit, whatever. It goes back to the person. If it means we create 50 processes, we create 50 processes,
So in that
Thank you,
sense,
Hannah. That's amazing.
Yeah, well put. But in summary, just love. Like, it's amazing what you could do if you just love your neighbour as yourself. I know sometimes we overcomplicate it and we want 10 steps for this and stuff, but if you just treat others the way that you want to be treated, that's like 85% of the work done.
I love that. So I think we've got time for a couple more questions. So what type of technology do you guys use in the workplace? Are there like certain apps or like certain websites that you just, like for Grammarly, for instance, like are there any apps and sites that you just like, I have to use this on a daily basis to like help my brain do the work?
I guess I should start now. I can't lie, ChatGPT has been a game changer. That ability to be like, Grammarly was great, but to actually say, hey, ChatGPT, I've written this. Can you please just edit it? You know, you are, just describing the role and just say, like, can you just edit this?
Break it down, smaller
and
tests.
just break it down. And there's just so many ways you can use ChatGPT that's really been great. There are softwares like Dragon and stuff that I've never really been a fan of because, number one, it didn't really understand my accent. Number two, it just takes a lot of time to do, and it was just quite difficult. So, but another one that I like is anything that kind of like read and write, for example, or text help, that just actually, as you're reading articles, it just reads it out loud for you. It just makes it a lot easier. So what I do with Grammarly, for example, I use ChatGPT, and then as I'm editing the process, I use Grammarly, and then maybe take it back to ChatGPT and just do both. So those are a few things. But another assistive technology that I like to use is just my community. So if I find something difficult, if it's my wife or a friend or a sister, like, hey, can you just check this out? Because one thing I can't do, for example, to edit something on Canva, for example, ChatGPT is not going to help with that. But as a dyslexic, I can be quite fiddly.
Yeah.
So to get things on an infographic how I want to, that's just never going to be my forte. And instead of spending hours to struggle, I'll just ask for help.
Love that. Hannah?
ChatGPT has been a game changer for me as well, because like I'm naturally a storyteller. I like words, so I'll be like, okay, this 10 pages that I've written, can you make it to like half a page? So that's been really helpful for me. Grammarly, I have a love-hate relationship with, actually, because it's a good thing, but when those lines come under, and I'm like, no, I want to stop telling me what to do. I have a real issue with apps telling me what to do. I was like, no, I wanted to say that. Like, stop it. They really hate the word really for some reason. I don't know, like, it can't be really good. It just has to be good. So there is, and I think, so things that, like I use, it's called Beautiful AI, for example, and it's a PowerPoint. So I can stand up here and I can talk all day long, but what I really struggle with is actually just putting together the slides. So it's like the admin behind and like having so many thoughts going, oh God, I've written too much there. So it's using AI basically, and it gives you a template, because otherwise you're like, that line's not straight, and you'll spend hours trying to make that line straight. But what it does is it kind of does all that for you. So that's been really helpful. But again, it's community. Like, I am the first one to pick up the phone, but I don't get this. Can you explain it to me? And I think it's understanding that actually some people need that. If you ask me to fill in a form, like, you're not going to get it from me. I'm not going to lie. But if you pick up the phone, I'll be there all the time. We can talk it through. The Remarkable tablet's also been really good, because I love making notes, but I never look at them again. So what that does is it allows you to write your notes, and it turns it into typed text, and it goes straight to your laptop. So that's really helpful, because you know, if you don't remember stuff, and I can't read my own writing, I go, I didn't make the note. But also, like, transcribing apps and stuff like that are really good. Just for you to be able to go back, because the way my brain works is I'll think of something in the moment, and I'll be like, oh, but I thought of something else. Let me go back to that. So I think anything you can help, but all this stuff will help everyone. Yeah. It all helps everyone. Diversity and Ability have also done a passport, which it's talking about kind of disablement. So at some point in our lives, we'll all go through disablement. So whether that be, you've broken your leg and you can't get into the office, but it's an app that essentially tells all it's about. You don't have to disclose anything. It just says what you need. And you can share it with whoever you want. You can share it with your doctor. You can share it with a manager. If you're going to a meeting, you can share it just for an hour. Yeah. Just so, but it doesn't kind of label you essentially with anything. It's just talking about what you need for that meeting or that day or that organisation, that manager, whatever it is. So it's really, I think, just looking at actually the fact at some point we will all have needs that differ. Yeah. So how do we just normalise asking or putting things in place that make it easier for people's needs to be met? Because until you've faced that challenge, you don't know how difficult. And if you don't have a space to speak, to say, actually, hold on, can I try this? Or you're just going to sit there and struggle through it. And that kind of goes for everyone.
I love that. Thank you for that, Hannah. What are your apps, Alex?
I think for me, it's not a specific app that's been designed to try and help you know, the neurodiverse community, it's those everyday apps. Like, for instance, big ones for me are LinkedIn and WhatsApp. You know, when I go on holiday abroad, you know, I don't want to use all my money up trying to ring my family, so I use WhatsApp. And I remember my grandma, she doesn't have Facebook and she doesn't have WhatsApp. So I said to her, I'm really sorry, but I won't be able to contact you until I get back from holiday. Because I couldn't really phone her because it would cost too much, or text her. So WhatsApp has been amazing. And LinkedIn, I built up such an amazing network of people who can help me via LinkedIn. Not just LinkedIn, but like Instagram, Facebook, but particularly on LinkedIn. And I know that if I need, if I've got a concern or I've got a problem that I need help with, whether that be business related or a personal problem, I can put it out on LinkedIn. And I think I've got something like 12,000 connections on LinkedIn, and I can almost guarantee that someone will be able to help me or give me some advice. So using those platforms, social media platforms that everybody or most people will use on a daily basis, for me, are the ones that I found incredibly helpful.
And a voice note, can we just like give it up for voice? Whoever invented voice notes, genius. Mine sometimes, Selena will over there end up as a podcast, but you know, hey, you can listen to it at your own time. But voice notes is really good as well, because sometimes you just need to talk. Sometimes when you're talking it through yourself, you get the answer, you're like, okay, don't worry about that. Don't listen to what I just said, I just need it. But I send voice notes to myself as well when I have an idea. So voice notes is a really, because writing that much becomes a bit of an effort. So voice noting is a really cool tool.
I think we've got time to squeeze in one more question. Yeah, we're going to squeeze it in. And it'll be around leveraging neurodiverse talent and organisational success. So do you have any companies at the top of your heads that are harnessing unique skills with neurodivergence to like boost innovation and success?
I think there are loads of organisations that have a great or evolving their recruitment process, which is fantastic. But what I will always say is, there's somebody that looks like me that has hidden disabilities. Please don't invite me into your organisation till you're ready and it's safe. So I think, you know, I would rather...
That's a powerful statement.
Right, don't invite me in. I'd rather you said, we can't accommodate, we're going to cause you harm, don't come here. I'd rather you said that.
Yeah, but they won't.
But, or at least say, you know, we're starting to do the work. But it's so harmful because a lot of people will focus on the solution is just to bring more people into the organisation.
Yeah.
And then cause them harm. So it's kind of going, before you even try and get the talent in, why don't you look after the talent that you've already got for starters? Why don't you put them at the table, listen to them, do the right thing by them, and then focus on attracting.
And your costs would be lower as well because of high staff turnover. The processes are like, it's time wasting. You have to give that work to someone else in the team. So it's more cost effective to actually look after the team.
You'd think, right? And I think, how do we measure success, right? If you measure actually how comfortable and happy, nobody goes to work because they're related. Like, nobody really wants to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock, whatever time to go to work.
We spend so much of our life work as well. It needs to be a safe environment, a happy working environment.
And safety will mean different things to different people. So it's really important to understand what that looks like. And again, I think it's about having like a flexible model that you have there to be able to, you know, I need more of this, I need less of this, whatever, and be able to do that without going, oh, actually, if you need dragon, sorry, it's going to take 6 months worth of approvals. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think for me, it's very, very important to make sure you have the environment, because so many organisations go straight to, let's just recruit them, let's get, you know, if you're neurodivergent, will you be on our website? Will you say something? And then we're like, oh my God, there's loads of neuro. And then you go, the 3 people that were on the website are the only 3 people there. So for me, it's really create the safety first, because actually, as somebody from a minoritised population, I prefer it if you're just honest and say, we're not ready for you, but we're working on it, we'll call you when we are. Because at least we don't need more workplace trauma, or, you know, we don't need that. We'd rather you just said, we're not ready for you, but we'll let you know when we are. And then I can decide what I want to do.
Absolutely. I'm very sorry to rush you, gentlemen, but you have 30 seconds each. I do apologise.
Yeah, it's just that understanding that it's not about vanity metrics. It's not about, oh, we're inclusive because we've got this amount of people. I mean, look at our previous government. They said Okay, let's not even go there.
We need another hour.
But like Hannah said, it's gonna take work. I think Kimberly Crenshaw said that yes, intersectionality is difficult work, but we need to be ready to do it. And I think you should just look out for organizations that are ready to do the work, not just, tick box exercises, but actually, are you ready to do the work? Are you ready to make psychological spaces for everybody? Not because for me, if you are good on neuro inclusion, but you're not great for black people, that's still not going to accommodate me. So you need, every organization must have an intersectional approach. I've gone more over 30 seconds, so I'm sorry.
It all depends on Alex. Do you have any final words?
I'll just
Very
say
quickly.
I'll just say that there are so many organisations now actively wanting to employ people with autism, and I read one company, they wanted Asperger's, they wanted to actively employ people with Asperger's so they could look upon it as a real positive thing rather than a negative thing. Companies are changing their recruitment processes. I know one company were giving people the option to build Lego robots instead of carrying out that traditional interview process, because they realised that people who are neurodivergent, people with autism, struggled in a traditional interview. And I think by taking those approaches, they can really see the value that people who are neurodivergent can actually bring to their workplace.
And I think I think we just need to remember diversity doesn't mean you're inclusive. You can have a plethora of people that are in there. Doesn't mean your organisation is safe, and it doesn't mean it's inclusive either.
Yeah. Please join me in doing a massive applause for our incredible speakers today. Thank you so much. That was so insightful and so much fun. Thank you very much.
And thank you for asking such brilliant questions.
Oh, I do my best. Thank you. Oh, a little applause. Thank you. Oh! Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Oh, that was fun.